On May 14, 2025, the Colleyville Police Department officially closed the investigation into Pete, the Daystar employee accused of S.A. Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter. The police cited insufficient evidence as the reason for the closure, and Daystar, unsurprisingly, celebrated the conclusion of the case, claiming Pete had been exonerated. But here's the catch. Was the case truly closed? Is Pete really innocent, as Daystar claims? Or is there something deeper at play, something the public has yet to uncover? And why is it that despite the closure, the most critical piece of evidence still hasn't been fully revealed? What if the key to reopening the case is hidden in a letter that's been locked away and never fully released to the public? You've heard about the Daystar scandal. You know the name Pete. But what about the letter written by Jonathan Lamb's own family, by J.W. and Rebecca Lamb Weiss? What if I told you this letter, which could completely change everything, is sitting in a police file, but it hasn't seen the light of day yet? Let's dive into why this letter matters, why J.W. and Rebecca's silence is so crucial, and how it could change the fate of this case.
What's happening in the feeds is they're going, where's Rebecca and J.W.? J.W., it's my understanding, wrote quite an impactful letter regarding his concerns.
He did. He read it to me, and it was just laying out everything that he had saw, just all the different details that really led to Pete being the one that was a perpetrator. And again, that just showed you how they were standing with us 100%. But unfortunately, they've signed the NDA and they've chosen the path of silence.
This letter, written by J.W. Weiss and Rebecca Lamb Weiss, has never been fully made public. The letter is said to contain alarming details of Pete's inappropriate behavior toward a child. J.W. and Rebecca, as family members of Jonathan Lamb, were in a unique position to observe Pete's actions firsthand. They were among the first to raise the alarm about Pete's behavior. But despite this, their letter, which could have been a game changer in the case, hasn't been released. Why? This letter could contain the very evidence that the police need to reopen the case. J.W. and Rebecca's first-hand observations are critical, and yet, it's as if this letter was locked away. Why hasn't it been shared? Why hasn't it been used to push this case forward? Well, the answer might lie in the fact that Daystar's leadership, including their powerful legal team, has worked to suppress it. According to the email Candy Chan posted, something strange happened on May 2023. Jonathan Weiss walked into the Colleyville Police Department. He wasn't alone. He brought his attorney with him. And in his hand was something potentially explosive, a letter connected to the child sexual abuse case involving the Lamb family. But what happened next left officers stunned. J.W. showed the letter to the police. Yes, he physically brought the letter and let them read it. But here's the catch. His lawyer refused to let the officers keep the letter, make a copy of it, or even take a photo. Nothing. Let that sink in for a second. He walked into the police station, said, "Here's a letter related to a serious abuse case," but then wouldn't let them document it in any way. So what was the point of even bringing it? It seems like a legal maneuver. Maybe they wanted to look like they were cooperating, to say, look, we're being transparent. But at the same time, they made sure that nothing could actually be used as evidence against them. The police officers found the letter relevant to the case, but without a physical copy or photo, they couldn't include it in the official investigation file. Later, both the police and the city attorney tried to get the letter through legal channels. They attempted to use a search warrant to obtain it, but they were blocked. In the end, the letter that could have added important context or possibly confirmed parts of the victim's claims just disappeared. It never became part of the case. And that raises a haunting question. What were they trying to hide? Since that bizarre day at the Colleyville Police Department, Jonathan Weiss has gone completely silent. No public statement, no explanation, no follow-up. The man who once walked in with a letter, then walked out with it, is now missing from the conversation. Why? What's he hiding? Now here's where things get even more suspicious. The city attorney and law enforcement didn't just let it go. They knew that letter could be crucial, so they tried to obtain it through a search warrant. Yes, they actually attempted to legally force the release of the letter. But that attempt was blocked. We don't know exactly how. It could have been denied by a judge, or maybe the legal team for Joni Lamb shut it down. But the result? The police never got the letter. And without it, they didn't have enough evidence to proceed. No physical copy, no admission, no proof. Just a letter that allegedly exists and was briefly waved around, but never handed over. So now we ask the hard question. Is this the real reason the case was closed? According to Candy Chand, that letter was the missing link. It may have been the very thing that connected the dots between the victim's story, but instead, it vanished.
Rebecca and JW, I can tell you that the feeds, the people are speaking, and what's happening in the feeds is they're going, where's Rebecca and JW?
Rebecca Lamb, you were born into an amazing family, I know.
Amazing mother.
The best.
God gives everyone free will. You cannot force them, that's manipulation when you keep trying to push. We never wanted to control anybody to do anything. We said, make your choice before the Lord, we will go our way. And honestly, I'm really thankful. So with Becca JW, them making their choices, it's not some, they're just don't want to talk. It's a very conscious choice they've made. And I'm all about respecting choices and boundaries. Everybody will answer to God. I will answer to God, they'll answer to God. So they will stand before God someday for this choice. And I leave it there.
And it's so important to talk about the sin of omission. If you know the right thing to do and you don't do it, that's sin. So that's what I think is the most grievous part here, and where I pray, that the fear of the Lord, it really hits people, that if they ever know that there's something that can be said to speak out, but you choose not to do it, then you are guilty of the sin of omission.
JW and Rebecca had an opportunity to stand up for the truth. They could have spoken out. They could have used their voices to defend the innocent, to bring justice for the victim, what we call here the little lamb. But they chose to remain silent. And that silence is not just a passive act, it is a sin. The Bible makes this clear in James 4:17. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. That is called the sin of omission. It means knowing the right thing to do and still choosing not to do it. JW and Rebecca were in a position to help. They had access to the letter that could have made a difference in this case. JW even met with police and brought the letter, but refused to let them keep it. If they truly cared about justice, why hide the truth? Why hold back a piece of evidence? Why stay silent when a child's voice needed to be heard? You both chose silence. But that silence has consequences. Jesus said in Luke 17:2, "It would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these little ones to stumble." This is not just about a closed case file. This is about a wounded soul. This is about a young girl whose pain was ignored while leaders stayed silent. God sees everything. God hears the cries of the innocent, and God will bring justice. Even if man's system fails, heaven's courtroom does not.